For over a century, the geography of style was static. Paris, Milan, London, and New York held a total monopoly on global influence, absorbing the vast majority of the industry's capital while dictating exactly what the world should wear. Maintaining that status quo requires a hyper-accelerated manufacturing cycle. To protect profit margins, legacy brands rely on opaque supply chains where the only metrics that matter are production speed and cost reduction. The environmental cost is quantifiable. The industry churns out 80 to 100 billion garments annually, with 87% ending up in landfills. This waste is fueled by a collapsing life cycle. Average garments are worn just 7 to 10 times before being discarded. Today, consumers and international regulators are demanding a viable alternative. However, the established fashion houses are often locked into supply chains that are too rigid and too opaque to allow for a meaningful pivot. The blueprint for a new, ethical apparel ecosystem isn't being drawn in Europe. Instead, the push for a $50 billion industry shift has centered on the high-powered metropolis of Nairobi, Kenya. At the center of this movement is Tribal Chic. What began as a boutique runway event has evolved into a critical infrastructure project, providing the platform for a new generation of sustainable African luxury. Tribal Chic operates as an environmental gatekeeper. To walk this runway, a designer must provide the organizers with total transparency regarding their sourcing and production chain. This table highlights the functional shift. The traditional model prioritizes speed within hidden supply chains. Tribal Chic uses pre-order systems to prevent surplus stock. Ecological accountability is now non-negotiable. Designers must prove they use slow fashion principles and provide ethical working conditions for every artisan. You can see this circularity in the daily operations of the featured studios. Ateliers across Nairobi now operate under strict zero-waste policies, ensuring that every scrap of material is utilized. Designers transform discarded textiles sourced from local flea markets into high-end collections, using repurposed secondhand curtains to create a series of structured avant-garde jackets. Legacy brands are further reducing their footprint by stripping toxic synthetic chemicals out of the process. They rely instead on natural fibers like locally grown cotton and silk, using hand-painted motifs and traditional dyeing techniques. By integrating these methods at scale, these creators demonstrate that circularity has evolved from a marketing trend into a functional requirement for the next generation of luxury. To insulate themselves from global shipping instability, Nairobi's designers have turned inward. They are utilizing the East African community to build a resilient cross-border supply chain that functions independently of Western hubs. Raw materials now move seamlessly across regional borders. In a single workshop, you might find Ugandan bark cloth meeting Tanzanian kanga fabrics to create garments with a unique regional cultural capital. This regional network formalizes the informal artisan economy, building the necessary commercial infrastructure for a multi-billion-dollar sector. Tribal Chic serves as a commercial ladder for talent from structurally disadvantaged areas. Designers from the Kibera informal settlement have used this runway to reach a global audience, eventually dressing some of the biggest names in the music industry. The platform also facilitates direct partnerships with indigenous groups. Traditional Maasai beadwork is integrated into modern luxury bags and accessories, ensuring fair and standardized pay for the women who hold this ritual knowledge. By merging localized supply lines with a global aesthetic, the African fashion ecosystem generates direct economic growth for communities that have historically been excluded from the high fashion market. Because the continent has a young, digitally native population, the future of this sector is being built on a foundation of aggressive technological integration. Designers are currently using artificial intelligence and augmented reality to optimize their textile patterns and eliminate material waste before the first stitch is ever sewn. In this new workflow, entire capsule collections are patterned and sampled in the digital realm. This allows designers to finalize the fit and drape of a garment without wasting any physical fabric or energy. This shift allows brands to abandon the traditional wholesale model. By using AI to predict demand with micro-targeted precision, they can move to exclusive, tech-enabled pre-order systems that mitigate the rising cost of materials. Traditional retail is being replaced by interactive live shopping and digital e-commerce gateways. These tools create a frictionless connection between a Nairobi workshop and a buyer in London or New York. By digitizing the supply chain, these designers scale their businesses and capture global market share without replicating the mass production errors of the old guard. By 2030, this combination of craftsmanship and tech integration is expected to solidify Nairobi's status as a Tier 1 alternative global fashion capital. The designers incubated at Tribal Chic have already breached the borders of established venues like New York Fashion Week. African alumni are now fixtures at elite European trade shows, demonstrating their ability to command the high-end B2B market in Paris and London. Perhaps the most disruptive strategic move is the rise of South-South economic diplomacy, where designers bypass Western hubs entirely. Landmark cultural exchanges with Barbados have established direct trade routes connecting East Africa to the Caribbean. This forged bilateral tourism and manufacturing links that don't rely on North American or European intermediaries. Major investment from multinational giants like BMW and Fenty Beauty validates the commercial potential of this movement. As East Africa's economy outpaces continental averages with 5.8% growth, this ecosystem is bridging the gap between local creative talent and the institutional capital required to reach a $50 billion valuation. The Eurocentric monopoly on style is permanently broken. Global luxury is now defined by cultural authenticity and uncompromising sustainability, and the blueprint for that future is currently walking the runway in Nairobi.